All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. Court officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case KAC BC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. First of all, I will call appearances. Mr. Prosecutor, could you tell us who's present for the Specialist Prosecutor's Office?
Good morning, Your Honors. The team is the same as yesterday, with the exception of Mr. Osborne, who's here today instead of Alex Whiting, the Deputy Specialist Prosecutor.
Okay, thank you very much. Victims' Counsel, please.
Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, everybody. The Victims' Counsel team is represented by Nyomza Hachi-Bechiri, Senior Junior Legal Associate, and myself, Rani Poos, as Victims' Counsel.
Thank you, Victims' Counsel. Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honor. The defense is represented by myself, Julius von Bonnet, my co-counsel, Mr. Betim Shala, interpreter and investigator, Mr. Fatmir Pillai, and remotely is joining Mr. Mustafa.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And for the record, you are appearing before Trial Panel 1. Before we continue with the testimony of witness 3594, I would like to follow up with the SPO regarding the two matters we discussed at the end of the hearing of Tuesday. It was about the updated order of the witnesses proposed by the panel. I know that you have said that you have taken note of it. Could you please inform the panel whether the proposed order can be followed, considering witness availability, so that we can prepare accordingly?
Yes, Your Honor. The proposed order is fine for the SPO. We can adjust the schedule as proposed by the panel.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Prosecutor. And okay, secondly, there was a matter we discussed. I won't say too much about it because we did that in private with regard to witness 1679. You indicated that you would come back to the panel with an answer. Would you like to take the floor about that, but then in private, of course?
Yes, Your Honor. My colleague, Ms. Dascoli, would be is ready to address the court in private session about that.
Okay, very well. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private session, please?
Your Honors, we're now in private session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honors. And thank you for your observations with regard to that translations. We were, in fact, going to address that issue in the filing at the end of the month, which presents the exhibits discussed with the witness that the SPO seeks admission of. But briefly, we will do that in any case, so that we will all have it in writing. But just to give a brief summary so that Your Honors are informed about it, with regard to the SPO English translation of the UNMIC witness statement of 1679, as Your Honors indicated, that is to be found at pages 060695 to 060697 of the ERN document 060690 to 060698 ET. So that is an internal draft translation of that UNMIC statement. We have relied on the original as discussed during the testimony. We were not going to rely on that because it was just a routinary draft translation that was done whenever we have official notes or documents that we disclose to the parties, there's also automatically an English translations done. However, in this case, there was already an original one, and therefore the draft SPO's translation wasn't finalized, and we were planning to rely on it simply because it has at the bottom the translation of the hand marking, the corrections that the witness made during his testimony. So that was the addition compared to the prior statement. But that translation is not as accurate as the original one, let's say, the one that can be found in the unmixed statement at pages 7000687 to 7000688. And that is the translation the SPO relies upon for that unmixed statement. But again, we will put that in writing so that it is clear. In any case, the witness, I recall, has read out in court the English, has read out in court the handwritten corrections, which of course now appear as translated in the transcript, so that might suffice. We will find a suitable solution and discuss that in our next filing at the end of the month. And then, Your Honour's other question was in relation to a sort of guide or index in the official note regarding the content of that note. Because I think Your Honour's remark was that English translation was not to be found listed in the official note. That's correct, in fact, and that is because it was simply the translation of that unmixed statement the list of the exhibits, which I remember was exhibit 1 to 4, attached to the official note and discussed in the SPO interview. And through the conversion table that we provided for the witness, Your Honours can see the specific pages and also Exhibit 1, 2, 3, or 4 discussed in the SPO interview. So by having the official note and the conversion table, we believe Your Honours have all of the information in order to understand which exhibits we're talking about and where to locate them in the SPO interview. The ET translation, so the document 060690 to 060698 ET, was not listed because it's simply a translation of that official note. And in fact, it doesn't have any content in the first pages because, being an English translation, of course, it reports back to the original. And the only English translation contained in it was the one of the unmixed statement, which, however, as I discussed, is not is not a final one and not the one that we have been relying upon for the unmixed statement. And we will put this, these observations and submissions into the filing for the admission of exhibits with the witnesses for October, so that everything is clear and is also memorialized. And if Your Honours have further questions, I'm happy to address them.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. It is noted, and if necessary, we will come back to it. I think that will suffice for now. Yeah. Good, Madam Court Officer, can we go back into public?
Your Honours, we're in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. We will continue now with the testimony of witness 3594. Madam Court Officer, could you please bring the witness into the courtroom?
Microphone for Your Honor.
Hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. I hear you.
Did you get some rest?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Today we will continue with your testimony, and I remind you that you are still under oath and you have the obligation to tell the truth. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yes, fully.
Victims Counsel, in the first round you said you didn't want to like to pose any questions to the witness, but we are now in the second round, and I do give you the possibility, if you want, to pose some questions to the witness.
Thank you very much, Your Honours. Indeed, following the defense questioning, I do have two very brief questions for the witness. Mr. Witness.
Mr. Witness
Yes?
is going to pose apparently two questions to you, and I will give her now the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Witness. Two very brief.
Good morning.
The first question, is it correct, this is just a follow-up question to your answers yesterday or to the questions yesterday.
Your Honours, we're in private session.
Please proceed, Victims Counsel.
Thank you. So, Mr. Witness, we are now in private session so that no one will be able to hear publicly what is being said here.
Your Honors, we're back in public session.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, we are in public now. I brought us back into public,
Yes.
and I will give you now the floor.
I want to brief consult something.
Yes, but I will give you the floor
Yeah.
as soon as you are ready for that for
Yes.
rejoinder.
Yes. Your Honor, we have no further questions.
Thank you, Defense Counsel. Okay, very well. There are no questions anymore from the Defense Counsel. That means that now the panel will, and the panel that are the judges, will ask you some questions. We will do it as follows. I will start with a few questions to you. Then my colleague at my left side will ask you some questions. And then we will have a break because we have to organize something logistic. And then we will continue with a few more questions. Is that clear to you?
That's right.
Yes, it's clear.
Then the end for, after that, the end of, in principle, of your testimony. Yes, Mr. Witness, we are now in public, and therefore I ask Madam Court Officer if she could bring us into private.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Judge. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I have just a few questions for you for some clarifications. At page 74 of yesterday's transcript, lines 12 and 13, you explained that those detained with you were training, that they were exercising. Could you describe how were they exercising and which kind of exercise they were doing?
So, Mr. Judge, we had enough time there to be trained. I mean, we could not stay in the same place all the time because we were not allowed to move in the yard. We were moving inside the room. So we could not go outside, but we spent all the time there. This is why we were exercising and we were moving in the place where we were. So we had those types of exercises that one can do while you are imprisoned, when you are detained. So there were like bodily exercises, so moving the hands. So we would jump. These were the things that we would do. So we could all exercise. So nobody was just sitting, so we could all exercise.
In your statement, thank to the SPO, I will say it once, then I will just refer to the parts of that statement. It's 061016 ET. Here it's part 1, page 21, line 1. You speak about a small area, a very tight area. How was it possible to exercise, all of you, in such a small area?
I have said that it is small, but in our conditions it was not small. I mean, there was sufficient room there. Other 4 or 5 persons could as well be in the same place. It was not that small for us not to exercise. So we have stood up and we exercised while standing up. So we also could move, go from where we were to the door and then from the door back. I mean, we had that possibility of moving within the room.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. However, moving is not exactly the same as exercising, but I understand that you were both moving and exercising.
Exactly.
Well, while we were moving, so personally, for instance, I was having these exercises using my hands, my arms, and the legs as well. I mean, you can exercise even by staying at the same place. This is the reality. So I'm just telling you the reality. I'm telling you that we had sufficient time. We had ample time.
A further question also, thank you. I'm wondering, how could you exercise when you state at part 5 of your SPO witness statements, part 5, page 9, line 20, that we were in the state of half dead, half alive? How could you exercise in such a condition?
Your Honor, when I said that, I referred to the psychological state and not to the physical state. And this is something that I attest to you today as well. So I don't know what state I was in, and I'm talking here with reference to the psychological state. It's true. I was half alive, half dead. I was not normal. So in those conditions, in those circumstances, I did not feel myself as being normal. And I believe that no one in those conditions would not feel differently, namely that they would not feel normal. So personally, I have tried to convince myself, but I could not find something to convince myself. While I had 100 different problems and worries about my family, I didn't know where my family was. I didn't know what was expecting of me the next day. And this is why I have referred to myself as being half dead and half alive, and that's true. I have not said that I have been weak physically speaking, but from the moral and psychological aspect, I have not been half dead, but probably I've been 90% dead.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Moving to another. You explained to us that when you were released, you were worried about yourself. Or at least when they were already lying on the floor and they were dead after being executed. Could you explain why, in such a dramatic situation, as you stated yesterday, what appeared to be the most important for you was to shave? This was yesterday, page 42, lines 7 to 16.
It is true. I said that I did that before I joined the column. Because if I joined the column in that state, because the column was accompanied, was escorted by the Serbian forces as well. So I didn't take the Gillette, the razor myself, but it was offered to me. So they gave me 2 razors, not one. So with this hand over here, because that was injured, and I used it. I didn't ask for a razor, but it was provided to me. So we ate the food because they gave their own food to us. And I asked them, is it possible do you have a razor? And they said yes. And they didn't give me 1 razor, but 2 razors. So, and this is what I did before I joined the column, because if I were to go directly to my house, I would have not raised myself. I would have not shaved myself. So I shaved myself in the mountainous area before I joined the column.
Understand, my question was just a bit different. Why was that so important at that very moment in such a dramatic situation to shave? What was that so important for you?
Your Honor, it was of importance to me, because if the Serbian forces would look at me that way, they would automatically think that you'd be a member of the KLA, that you were in the mountains with KLA. That was the reason why. So if they would look at you in that state with a beard, they would automatically separate you from the column. That was the reason why. The people that were wearing a beard, and they would separate it from the column, because automatically that would lead to a suspicion of me being a member of the KLA.
Thank you. In at least, and I'm moving to another topic now, in at least 2 parts of your SPO statement, you refer to the anger they had. For example, in part 2, page 8, line 23, you said, perhaps there was some kind of an anger that they had. Part 4, page 2, line 17, I was hit 4 to 5 times until they managed to get rid of that anger that they had. Who are they?
I don't understand what you are referring to, Your Honor.
So I'm going to go to part 4, page 2. Yeah. Ah, yes, we can also put it on the screen, indeed. It's 061016 TRET, part 4. And it's page 2, and it's in the middle of the page. I will start on page 2, line 11. And I'm reading. Were the others hit in the same way? Yes. How often? All of them were hit. Right. And how many times were each of them hit? I don't know. I was hit 4 to 5 times. Until they managed to get rid of that anger that they had. They, are you referring to the Kaile, or to the Kaile soldiers, or to somebody else?
I now understand. I am referring to the young man because he was by himself. He was not accompanied by other people. I was referring to him, so I put my hands out, and I know that it was 4 or 5 times that I was hit in my hands. And those were very mild hits, and it was not something major. It was just one person. It was not 2 or 3 persons. It was just one person.
You said they managed to get rid of that anger. What do you mean by that anger? The anger of whom? And the anger against whom and for what?
Your Honor, I think that he was the person who had some anger. I was not thinking about the others. And the next day, I heard that he got in the barn without the permission of other people, because the people that were staying at the door, this is what they told me. And they told me that he would not dare enter those premises any longer. And I'm being very frank here, because nobody else would do that. And I said it yesterday that he was a young man. And he said, put your hand out. He was like being my child. So it was only him that hit me. That was the only person. It was not 2 or 3 persons. He was the only person. Also, probably he wanted just to train himself. I don't know.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Witness. I understood that. So, I will go back to another reference of anger, so that maybe you can explain to me a bit more. Could we go now to part 2, page 8? And I will start at line 18. Maybe that will be easier for you to explain. So line 18, I'm starting. Right, but they did tell you they had made a mistake. Yes, but I didn't believe them at all. How could a mistake be made and keep a person in a stable? Right, but why did you think you were being held then? Why did you think that it wasn't a mistake? Your answer, perhaps there was some kind of an anger that they had. Again, could you explain why you are referring to this anger? An anger against whom and for what?
Your Honor, when I say I'm in fury, there are many mistakes being done, and I think that somebody wanted to take revenge on me. And I've said it before, and I want to say it again, that they were not the people that were there. And I've told the SPO as well, that we are interested to identify the person that issued the order to imprison myself. So I've been in the Serbian prisons as well. So the guard that opened the door and closed the door was not the one to be responsible for imprisoning myself, but responsible were those that raised the indictment and those that gave the order for that. And again, I'm saying that the person that issued the order against myself was not there, was beyond that place, and that was a kind of a fury, a kind of an anger, and that's something that I'm interested in, not only myself but as a family as well. So I want to know who that person is, because that is the person that would affect my honor, my moral honor, my patriotic honor, my family honor. And so at that moment in time, when they asked me for forgiving, I didn't trust them. But those that said what they told me, I mean, they were very humane to me. They behaved themselves very well. But probably I took that with some reservation when they told me that this person has entered the barn without our permission. And they told me that this person would never enter the barn again, and this is what happened. He never entered the barn again.
Witness, I will go to something else now. In part 2, we are there of your SPO statement from line 23, page 8, to line 2, page 9. You said the following. All of us that were, and I know this has been already discussed, but I would like to get some more
Your Honors, we're in public session.
It's now 10:35. We will have a break now because we need to have some technical setup. So, an hour is needed for that. So we have now a break of an hour. And yes, so Mr. Witness, we see you back in an hour. There will be some questions, a few, and then I think we will be at the end of your testimony. Okay, I will ask Madame Court Usher to accompany you out of the courtroom. We will resume in 60 minutes. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. I will register appearances. I see for the SPO the same persons are present. That's correct, yes. I see only the Victims' Counsel. Good, we register that too. Mr. Monet.
Mr. Pillai will join a little bit after.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Prosecutor, I see you standing.
Thank you, Your Honor. There is a matter which we would like to briefly address before the witness is brought in with the court's leave.
Okay, please.
Your Honor, today on page 12, lines 7 to 13, the witness stated that he was a KLA member from March 1998, which was when the war erupted in the Drunica area, according from what the witness said. But, Your Honor, our understanding from the evidence that the witness gave yesterday and the other days is that the witness in 1998, from 1998, yes, sorry, Your Honor, could we please move to private session?
Good. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private session and please redact what we have been saying?
I think, Your Honor, that what we said so...
Wait. We have to go into private.
Your Honors, we're now in private session.
Okay, thank you for that.
Apologies for that, Your Honor. I think that what we have said so far is not necessarily identifying of the witness. So we don't, but of course it'd be up to Your Honors. However, our understanding from the evidence given panel would like to ask a clarifying question, or whether it be the prosecution to do so, we have no preference. But we would like to have some further clarity, some clarity on the record about that, if possible.
What is it what you would like to have asked to the witness?
Well, Your Honor, we think that our understanding is that the witness may have been made some sort of a after the fact of some sort of an honorary member of the KLA, but he was not an active duty soldier. We don't believe that he took an oath with the KLA, or that he was embedded in a combat unit, or that he was given a uniform or an ordnance weapon. That he was essentially not a soldier, and we would like to clear that up. So perhaps these would be the questions we would be asking: whether he was in fact a soldier embedded in a unit of the KLA in March, when he said that he started to be a member of the KLA. That would be, for example, a question I would be asking, or whether he did in fact participate in any combat operations, or was part of any unit with superiors and subordinates and within a chain of command during the war. I think these questions might clear this up, Your Honor.
Okay. I give the floor to the defense counsel.
Well, the characterization of the KLA as if it would be only a combat type of army, I think would be a mischaracterization, as there have been many people, as it is a volunteer organization, basically, and I think I'm not sure in which direction this would go. I think the witness is not part of any particular combat or brigade or whatever, but I do not think that he could not be a member of the KLA or be declared a member of the KLA, or being seen as somebody of the KLA, considering the type of organization that we are talking about. People that would lend their house would maybe even be seen or consider themselves as KLA members. So I think I'm fine with any question regarding that. I just want to make sure that there is no particular characterization or conclusion drawn from that in that area.
Mr. Prosecutor, we will allow for that question. What I will do is that I will give you the possibility, defense counsel, if you want to follow up on what is answered, that you can do that. Yeah, that is.
Thank you, Your Honor. And just to clarify, like I do agree that being in a combat unit per se is not the only status in which one can be a soldier. But there is, for example, in international humanitarian law, taking an active part to the hostilities, which can take different forms, that would qualify somebody as a soldier. Somebody who feels himself as part of the KLA does not.
Good. Yes. Thank you. Then we will now continue with the testimony of the witness. I will first go into public session again. Madam Court Officer, can you bring us back?
Your Honors, we're back in public.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Court Officer, please bring the witness in. Mr. Witness, welcome back. I hope you had a good break. And we would like to ask you some more questions. However, before I continue to ask you some questions, I will give the floor to Mr. Prosecutor. He has a follow-up question, and after that, the Defense Counsel will be put in the possibility to ask you a question on that same topic. Okay? Do you hear me?
Yes, I do very well.
Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thanks, Your Honor. But I believe that we, again, will need to move into private session to go through this questioning.
Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into a private session, please?
that KLA members did not include only uniformed people, also the people who helped the KLA, people who provided help to it. So we were all involved in it. We moved around, we had to move within the day, to move from Pristina to the war zones and back, and we were even more in danger than the people who were in the war zones. That's why, that's what I meant by the fact that I was with the KLA members. That's why the brigade staff declared me as a member of that brigade. So KLA members did not include the uniformed people. Also us, they also included us without having a uniform. So that brigade deemed it necessary to do so, but not upon my request. I didn't make an application for it. I am thankful to them, and although I didn't receive any benefits, but I am thankful to them because today, tomorrow, after tomorrow, my grandchildren will know that I gave the contribution to this cause. That's my clarification, Mr. Lawyer.
References.
Avokati referencash faqja 12 është 12 të nderuar gjykatës. Gjykatësia e mora. I apologize, Your Honor.
So I think the transcript was 12, page 12, line 12. And one more follow-up question to the witness. So, what would you say if I would say that the KLA could be characterized as an organization that consisted both of armed personnel or,
yes.
or civilian
Objection,
personnel?
Your Honor.
Now, this is not... this is another question. We are talking about his position in the KLA, if he was, and I see the objection of the SPO and also on this side. So that is not a follow-up question I would allow.
I think, Your Honor, that I simply go into what the witness is saying, even though he did not say it with so many words. But he says clearly that it is not only people who are on the combat area, but also civilians, as I take it.
No, wait. I will. I allowed a question from one of the parties, and of course, then also for the Victims' Council and for the defense, because I saw the point, and it was something that also came up with the panel about his position within the KLA. That I wanted to have clarified. These for me is really a new path we are going on. So I would not want to allow that.
May I then rephrase the question in another term?
If you're not playing with words, I of course want to give you the floor if you think you have to clarify something on this specific point.
Yes.
to the question. Yeah. Then yesterday, we can take this this document away. Yesterday, we discussed the signs you saw on the bodies of the other detainees, and that is the real-time transcript from 12. That's the day before yesterday, 12 October, page 1064, line 18. And then you explicitly said that when you were confronted with, that you said that there were scars, marks, and holes in their bodies, that you didn't say holes. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. I was misunderstood. I said that they had lines like scars.
Madam Court Officer, could you please bring up part 1, page 26 of the SPO witness interview, and then the important lines are 13 and 14. And please, first that line. So I will read it out to you, Mr. Witness, because of you. No, they told me that these were done before you were out here, and they all had scars and marks on their body, and they had holes on their body. That's what you said, and you now say I was misunderstood. Do I get that right?
Lines or depressions are some sort of hole too, but I don't know how to explain it, because when there are lines, depressed lines in the body, are something else. A hole is when you puncture the body with some sort of needle, for instance. They didn't have that, so they didn't have that kind of holes, so they had bruises and some sort of lines on their bodies, because some time had passed when I was put in there. That is by my family, I can tell you that I didn't see any such marks in their heads, or but they told me that they had that things had been done to them, but I didn't take their words for it, and that's the reality.
The Madam Court Officer to put up the video recording, and for the record 061016B part 1 timestamp 10313 till 10405. And Mr. Witness, I will ask the interpreter that we listen to this and that she interpreted that little part, because I want to know what was said. Yeah, because then we can just make it clear, and then you can clarify if you can, of course. Yeah? Madam Court Officer, if you could put it up. One 10313. So I don't know if you can see here. You can see that where is 10313? Okay, good. Whenever you're ready. Oh. Mr. Witness, we are trying to get sound with the audiovisual recording, but that seems to be a problem for the moment.
Okay, that's okay.
I was informed that the technician will come in and to see if it's a problem from outside of within the court. So please, a little bit of patience. Welcome. Maybe you can give us a hand.
Right, so others, but was any other harm caused in your presence to the other people held in the stable?
Pra ata tjerë që kanë ardhur, që kanë hyrë aty, ai kanë bo keq këtyre personave që kanë qenë aty në prezencën tuaj?
Jo, ata thonë kanë bo përpara. Ata
No, they said it was inflicted on us before. They just told me that because of you. But in fact, this was done before. All of them had holes on their body, marks.
On their body, and they had holes on their body.
All right. So anyway, but nothing was done to you during the first week.
Pra, asgjë nuk u është bërë mua, nuk ka ndodhur nuk e gjatë javës fare.
We can stop. For the interpreter, could you repeat what you said about the holes?
Yes, Your Honor. The witness said they all had holes on their backs, on their bodies.
Mr. Witness, do you want to comment on this, on your what you said in Pristina?
Yes, I do. I said holes, I meant marks. Because the way I saw it is like hole means lines, scars on their bodies. They had scars, their backs were red, and the lines may be also holes, but in fact they were long lines. This is what I wanted to explain to the prosecutor. Because a hole may be in one certain place, but they had scars, I mean lines, which were reddish.
Um, a hole, I would say that is something round, but I understand now from what you're saying is, if I summarize it, that you meant with the word hole, long lines on the back. Is that correct?
This is what I had in mind, like long lines on their bodies.
Your Honor, if I read the line 10 and 11, it is what the witness says, or what is being translated. All of them had holes on their body, marks. So we continue on this holes issue, but as it was interpreted, line 10 and 11, I think it is exactly what the witness said.
That is not the question of the panel, and I would like to have clarification on the word whole, and that's what I'm doing here. Good. Mr. Witness, thank you for this clarification. Then I have a last point. And then I would like to bring who imprisoned you back then?
I am afraid of the certain individual that has sent me there, and I am keen on discovering who he is. So I have to be afraid because of what he did to me. He might do something similar to me even today. The most so since I don't know whom to be afraid of. Microphone, please.
Family have ever problems due to your imprisonment in Slash?
Yeah. No. No. We have had no problems other than those provocations that I explained to the prosecution here. Other than that, no.
And when you were asked, and now I'm referring to part 6 of and page 4, line 18 and 19 of your witness interview, you said to the same question I just posed to you, I was sent words to be careful not to mention any names.
Yeah. No. Nobody sent me a word. It is a misunderstanding. Nobody sent me any word. You can bring me up against anyone. Nobody threatened me to use any names.
You, with your previous statement, in which you said this.
No, not to mention names. I said I don't want to mention any names for as long as I don't know who the person is, but not that I was threatened by anyone. When I gave that statement, it was a year ago, and I have no reason to say anything. I am free to declare what happened. Nobody threatened me not to mention any names. If somebody had, then I would think that that person was involved in what happened to me. So 20 years have passed and everyone poses as my friend. So everyone feigned to be my friends. So I have had no threats made to me, Your Honor. Why shouldn't I mention names? If I know who the person is, then I don't fear anyone, and I am here to give a true statement, not to defend anyone and not to accuse anyone unnecessarily. So I am free to appear before the public, either here or in Kosovo. I have told the prosecution too. Put yourself in my shoes. Can you believe that someone who did that to me did it on his own head without being ordered to do that? If I knew who the person is, I wouldn't be here. Because, Your Honor, I also told to the prosecution, we have the canon law, which is the law of leg ducagini. If I knew, I would have acted differently as a family, but I know nothing. I want to explain once again. The thing is, the worst thing is in my mind, in my family's mind. If I suspect someone, maybe they are not the culprits. So I'm here to find the culprit. Someone has ordered my imprisonment, and I think the person is alive to this day. If I knew who he was, why should I stand up for him? Why should I defend him? That's the truth. Nobody has threatened me.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Madam Court Officer, could we go into public?
Your Honors, we're back in public session.
Mr. Witness, we reached the end of your testimony, and I can imagine that it must have been very tiring and demanding. It were 2.5 days here. I would like to thank you for the efforts you put into giving your testimony, and I believe that your testimony will help us in our effort to find what has happened and what is the truth. We wish you a safe journey home, and I remind you that you should not talk to anybody about the statement you have given before the Kosovo Specialist Chambers. I will now ask the court usher to usher you out, and as I said, I wish you a safe trip home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Court Usher. For the records, I see that Mr. Pillay is also in the courtroom, so then we have put that on record too. I do my usual round of the parties. If there's something else to raise in the Victims' Council.
Nothing from the prosecution, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Victims' Council?
Nothing from us, thank you.
Okay. Defense Counsel?
Only the schedule. I had contact with the prosecutor. They will give a new filing as far as the order is concerned. That will be helpful for hotel bookings, flight schedules, and so on. So I hope we can adhere to that. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Counsel.
Good. Thank you. We will resume on Tuesday, the 2nd of November, with the testimony of witness 4603. I thank again the parties, the Victims' Council for their attendance. I also thank the interpreters, the stenographer, and the security for their assistance today. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise.